Hello everybody, my name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, robot, and today, look, I heard you. I heard you. I heard you. So, thank you for exposing me to this. I broke down and I allowed myself to be enlightened. And, the book, I read the book, I watched the movie, and they're kind of way worse than I originally thought, but we're gonna get into that. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody of the current October contest submission thing going on for Lemoy. There is a link in the description down below that will take you to the prompt. Just fill it out, 750 words or less, using the prompt, and I will read them in October. Any genre may apply, and I look forward to reading you next month. Now, on with the subject. So, Unpregnant by Jenni Hendriks and her co-author, Ted Caplan. There were a couple of commenters who said that the story was good. Most of them just told me how important abortion was and how important it was to normalize. So, I figured, okay, fine, I'll listen. I'll give it a chance. I'll see where the story goes. I'll see how the characters work. I'll see what the author actually presents. This is obviously something that she cares about, so show me your perspective. And I'm not saying that I'll agree with you, but I will try to understand what you're putting out. Now, before we get started, I'm going to do a thorough synopsis, and then I'm going to do a breakdown of my responses to it. But before we get started, I just wanted to say something that I really hate about this film and about this book, actually, is not the story, but the discourse around it. You go to any review page, be it Goodreads or IMDb, and the reviews are just so full of giving highest remarks by talking trash about the stupid pro-lifers for the poor rating for political gain, or you've got the high marks that are saying abortion is so important, but nothing is actually about the story. And then you've got people trying to qualify their bad reviews by going, look, I'm actually pro-choice, but this story was like this. We should not be grading stories and having to qualify our responses based on what our political leanings are or based on what our social leanings are. That's just ridiculous. And the fact that so many of the reviews or responses are specifically targeting political stances shows that the responses to this book are not actually about the book. They are about the politics, and it is engulfed in the political leanings as opposed to actually recognizing the story for what it is. And this happens a lot with stories that are trying to be political. Political parties, political advocates overlook terrible writing, bad stories, bad characters if the story pushes some political leaning, and that needs to not happen. Divorce the political message from the story itself for a second and look at the characters, the plot, action, etc. for what they are. So, for a second, pretend that this isn't some major political movement and look at the stories, the characters, the plot, the building, instead of it's saying that abortion is okay or not okay, okay? Look at the story, look at the characters with me, and then we'll get into the rest of it. Without further ado, all of that said, let's get into the synopsis so we can get the rest of this going. The novel opens with 17-year-old valedictorian Veronica sitting on a toilet in the school bathroom to take a pregnancy test in privacy away from her parents, who would definitely be disappointed if they found out that their prodigy child was pregnant. More disappointed in her for being pregnant than having premarital sex, in the way that Veronica monologues about it, but I digress. Her ex-best friend, green-haired weirdo Bailey, comes in and discovers Veronica taking the test. She mocks Veronica a bit, but in the end agrees not to tell anybody about the little secret that Veronica is, in fact, pregnant. With her social circle, Veronica fears anyone finding out about her situation and secretly looks up places to have an abortion. Her sister had kids young already with a man that she'd only known for 2 weeks, gave up her career for him, and now was on her way to a 4th kid, and the 3 living kids that she has already can't behave long enough to even get through a dinner prayer. Veronica refuses to have that life for herself. Abortion is the only way, and she knew before taking the test that this is what she was going to do. Her dreams of going to Brown University for some undisclosed major is too important, and children and family are miserable if her family is any evidence of that. She has to escape it. Unfortunately, her state doesn't allow people under 18 to get an abortion without a parent or guardian present, so instead she looks for alternatives, and the closest one is 950 miles away in Albuquerque. The plan is to road trip there while under the guise of cramming for finals with her besties, while her besties think that she's spending a romantic weekend with her boyfriend. You know, a little bit of cover on both sides. Technically, she was going to go to the clinic with her boyfriend after she told him what happened, but when he proposes to her at dinner and says that he knows about the baby, she finds out that he put holes in the condom to get her pregnant on purpose so that she wouldn't go away to school, leaving him alone in Missouri? This leaves Veronica desperate and alone, and eventually she turns to her ex-best friend Bailey, who enthusiastically calls herself the abortion friend, dancing around and ready to help Veronica. Veronica takes the engagement ring that her boyfriend offered her and sells it for cash in the next town over. Her boyfriend stalks her there, but is chased off by the store owner pointing a shotgun at his head, and feeling bad for Veronica, she overpays Veronica above market value for the ring. Driving down the highway, Bailey and Veronica bond over yelling curse words about Kevin out the window, and they stop at a random park in the middle of the night where Bailey climbs a giant elephant before they're chased off by security. Bailey admits to jacking the car she has from her mom's ex-boyfriend, and they both shrug it off and keep going. They stop at a convenience store for snacks and then continue. Seeing red on Veronica's pants, the girls stop at a rest stop so Veronica can check herself. That's where her ex-boyfriend Kevin catches up again and shoves roses underneath the bathroom door before he climbs in the bathroom window to try and get to her. Bailey disables Kevin's car with Sour Patch Kids, and the two girls drive away. Oh, and it was a Slurpee on Veronica's pants, by the way. While Veronica sends fake pictures of her weekend with Kevin to her friends, Bailey nags on her about talking to these friends and pretending to be someone that she's not. The two stop at a diner for something quick to eat, but after pissing off a couple of evil truckers, the truckers steal their car, crash it, and pee on everything they belong while throwing their things out the window. The girls have to find another way to their destination. They try hitchhiking, but they get scared after the first guy pulls up to help them, and they run away because he's obviously a meanie McDickbag. I mean, every male character in the story is set up to be that way. Then, after they come back from the woods/farming area, they spot a strip club in the distance. They're going to use that to get to look for a ride. Somehow, for some reason, they trust the strip club more than the randos on the street. Okay. Bailey bribes their way in, and Veronica finds out that Bailey's gay and buys her a lap dance, and then a couple more lap dances, and then a couple more lap dances. They catch a ride toward Albuquerque with a stripper named Sapphire, who was the one that danced for Bailey. Turns out that stripper is in an open relationship, but is also some kind of religious nut job with a picture of Jesus crying over babies in her bathroom, and called Veronica's ex-boyfriend to come and get her while she was passed out. The stripper and her boyfriend and Kevin chase Veronica and Bailey out of the house until the two disappear in a drainage pipe in the woods. Veronica freaks out when she realizes that her phone is dead, and Bailey tells Veronica to stop caring what other people think and to think about herself. To continue their trip, the two consider jumping onto a moving train, then fail, and Veronica swears off the Missouri state legislator in the most literal way and cringy rant. After the rant, they notice a small deserted town in the distance, but it's okay because despite the school being deserted and most of the buildings being boarded up and abandoned, there's still a random limo company operating that offers to take the girls the last 300 miles to their destination. Once the two reach Albuquerque, the girls get into a fight over judging each other. Bailey judged Veronica for needing an abortion, Veronica judged Bailey for being a lesbian, so then they go their separate ways. Veronica continues to the clinic for her appointment and goes through the regular check-in stuff before she decides that she needs Bailey at her side so she can do this. Then she runs into Kevin outside of the clinic and punches him in the face after he apologizes for everything and says that he was wrong and wants to support her in whatever she needs to do. Veronica really doesn't care, and she's impulsive and mean. That's really the only takeaway here. She leaves the clinic and Kevin and tracks Bailey down to Bailey's father's shop, where he runs like a lawn shop, because the man lives in Albuquerque. Bailey wanted to see her dad, and that's the whole reason that she agreed to go on this trip. Bailey's dad tells her that he never wanted to be a parent and offers to give her money to send her home if that's what she came for. This obviously hurts Bailey's feelings, and Veronica takes Bailey's taser and electrocutes Bailey's father in retaliation for not wanting to be a father. Yeah. The girls make up and return to the clinic and get the procedure while eating nachos and talking about how they'll get back so late from this trip that everyone's going to know that something's up. They discover that ex-boyfriend Kevin is in the same restaurant. Wow, what are the chances? And they steal his car while threatening that they will ruin his reputation and say everything that has happened if they don't give him the car. So he lets go of the car and lets them go with it. Yeah, that wasn't a good deal on his part because they break the silent promise at the end of the book anyway. Big surprise there, right? The girls return home but stop at the Elephant and the Cow Park from the beginning of the novel so that they can climb on the things together, and while they're looking at the sky, they see like a UFO fly through the sky or something randomly. Back at home, Veronica's parents don't notice anything is off about her because she is just so good at lying and manipulating, but she gets mad at them for not caring because they don't notice that she's different than when she left. That was kind of the whole point. She just tells them that she broke up with Kevin over college differences, but at school she gets fed up with her friends alternating between caring about her and hitting on her ex. Because of this anger, she tells them everything that happened, mostly just that she got an abortion, that Kevin got her pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And then she feels super proud about this. It was a power move. She is in control. She is a badass. And then she walks over and sits next to Bailey because she's basically used that as a declaration of, I'm not your friends anymore, I'm with this one, and sits down at the cafeteria table with Bailey, who is sleeping. And then the novel ends with wind blowing through Veronica's hair. Yeah, really. So, getting on to my thoughts and responses to this book. I'm going to say from the start that I didn't really like the writing style or the narrative voice, but I pressed on anyway with the story, and it didn't really get any better. The novel presents two goals for the main character: maintain Veronica's future goals and maintain Veronica's reputation. Veronica is such a self-serving, selfish character. Everything is about her future, what she wants, without ever acknowledging everything that she has done, and wants it out of pure selfishness. This is probably what makes her character the most unlikable and kind of the worst. She lives in this mindset that nothing is her fault and the world is just unfair. At some point, she even laments about how life has become so messed up and how in an alternate universe she would have been somewhere else doing something else, not traveling across the country to get an abortion, but she never once recognizes the actions that she took that put her in the position that she was in. It's all just done to her, but it's not fair. She thinks that she deserves better without showing us why she deserves better than what she's kind of gotten herself into. From the get-go, Jenni Hendriks and her co-author recognize that a fetus/pregnancy is a human child. And this is probably the most disturbing thing about the book, at least with some people who argue for pro-choice. They say it's just a clump of cells, they dehumanize it, whatever, but from the start, she recognizes it as a child, that there are values in it, and she even quotes the Bible by saying, "Before you were in the womb, I knew you." But still, she sets the story up to have the baby be the antagonist. The baby is the thing stopping Veronica from getting the things that she wants, the future and her reputation, her position as a valedictorian, the pursuit of her career. The baby is the villain by standing in the way of those goals, and the baby must be gotten rid of. This is how protagonists and antagonists work. And here's an example of this presentation. Quote,
I sat on the hard graffiti-scored toilet seat in the women's restroom and tried to stifle my tears. No boyfriend, no bus, no hope. I was out of options. I could see my dorm room at Brown fading away. Instead, I was going to be spending my fall putting together a nursery with my sister's secondhand baby gear and being slowly crushed to death by my father's disappointment. At this thought, I let out a fresh sob.
The beginning of the novel also starts off with exposition dumps, and one of the things that I really have a hard time with when it comes to any sort of storytelling is that we learn about the character's attitude, personality, all of the characters around it through the narrator telling the reader this information. So think of Veronica talking about how awesome her friends are or how great her boyfriend is, yet we never actually see this manifest itself in the interactions within the story. This is just a lazy shortcut in writing. A mixture of show and tell usually makes for the best storytelling, but when you just tell me things as the reader and then you don't show me those things to fortify the character's claims, I'm not likely to believe any of your claims ever. And that's so unfortunate because I thought there was so much opportunity at the beginning of the novel to make it more compelling by showing the characters' interactions, with Veronica arriving at school on that same day and going through her relationships and showing the way that she tells us about her boyfriend and her ex-friend climbing out of her car in the parking lot and flipping her off, her parents saying something about Brown, to have an interaction to be key to find to have interaction be part of the key to finding this information rather than all of it just being told to us in the first 5 pages of the book. Then you could have easily transitioned into the bell ringing and her sneaking into the bathroom to take the pregnancy test. Instead, the novel starts out with a pregnancy test and Veronica sitting on the toilet, just thinking about it all as she waits for the test. The only thing that this does for the author is hurt your credibility with the reader. When you say Veronica is perfect and wonderful and lovely, but then open up with her judging the football team and taking a pregnancy test, then we know that you're lying and that the narrator is unreliable. You need to set expectations, then meet expectations, or exceed them if you're a superhero. The next thing is that there is no charity in this novel, as Jenni goes out of her way with a specific goal in mind. In one of the only sentences she evokes the word Catholic, she also brings up the Spanish Inquisition, because apparently the two things are the only things that exist in Catholicism. In another sentence, she asks, who thinks they're better than everyone? Faith? And that reads like a subtle dig, which maybe it is, maybe it's not, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I'll accept that. The dialogue is the cringiest thing, for me, starting with Bailey answering the door saying holy donkey balls. Clearly, this was taken out of the movie because honestly, it's not what teenagers would say, and there is a lot of moments in this book that read like a middle-aged woman saying, hello, fellow teenagers, I'm just like you, as well as there are some obvious tip-offs that the author wrote sitcoms. There are moments in the novel where the characters literally become their own laugh tracks so that you know that it's time to laugh, and that was awesome and hilarious. I know. There are times in real life when people and characters will comment on how awesome something was, that was hilarious, but the way the characters do it here after something not particularly funny happens, it just reads like a sitcom laugh track. Speaking of sitcoms, the flow of the novel also read very obviously like it was written by someone who writes sitcoms, because the situations were so random. It was like going from episode to episode of a sitcom where things only vaguely connect because of the characters involved, but the situations are always drastically different. And I kept that in mind, as the novel is labeled as a comedy as well as a drama, so there is some level of ridiculousness that should be expected. But I was never firmly placed into this universe of how seriously I should take it, because on some sides I'm told that I should take it seriously because of the subject matter, but on the other side I'm told that it's completely ridiculous because of the scenarios that were brought up. So I didn't get the sense of when I was supposed to be taking it seriously or why. Which again, fine, ridiculous makes for comedy, but now we're imagining abortion as a sitcom, and I don't get how you can try to make a serious political statement that you want taken seriously while writing a sitcom. The two don't go together. The author's admitted favorite moment was this.
I should be able to just walk down the street and open a door and waltz right in and say, hello, my name is Veronica. My boyfriend is an asshole. Here's my $500. Oh, yes, I would love a cup of water. Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. But no. Nope. Instead, I literally had to drive 996 miles, and now I'm stranded in this freaking field in the middle of nowhere, and the stupid train won't slow down! Why in the hell do you need to get parental consent to have an abortion but not to actually birth a human child? Fuck you, Missouri State Legislature!
So how do you go from that to we're not supposed to take this seriously, it's a joke, but also it's all very serious? Another problem with the flow here, and I'll keep this one short, is that the characters were asking other characters about things that they already knew. Like Veronica getting into a car with a group of 4 friends that she's been friends with for 4 years, and Bailey is over there. This is after the bathroom thing has happened with the pregnancy test, and Bailey is like, I feel for you. And the friends see that girl and go, oh my gosh, didn't you used to be friends with her like some time ago? These girls have been friends for 4 years. They were at the same birthday party 4 years ago. That was the last birthday party Bailey was at when she came over drunk. These friends would have already had this conversation. This was just done for the reader to relay more information at the author in a very clumsy way. Now, let's talk about some characters. The plot hinges on Veronica not being on birth control despite knowing how much a baby would mess up her future plans. She's a control freak. She's considered a type A personality. And maybe she doesn't take birth control for religious reasons, I'll give it that. Albeit, I find that a hard justification when she's also not abstaining from sex for religious reasons. But none of this is ever addressed. If she's going to address how a 17-year-old can't get an abortion in her state without parental consent, tell us how she's not or why she's not on birth control when she literally plans everything out. This one thing kind of destroys the whole setup of the plot, and this character being a type A control freak, it just doesn't work. From the moment of introduction, there is no reason for Veronica to be with her boyfriend. He's not going to Brown. He's afraid of her leaving. He doesn't support her leaving. And it's one thing to be with somebody in high school and have a high school boyfriend or a high school partner because it's high school, but to have sex with someone that you know isn't going to be there for you in the long run, and to break that purity ring promise, and especially put your future in danger because for some reason that you think you're in love with this guy when your narrative voice expresses otherwise, the author just kept creating setups that didn't work and weren't believable. Characters forced together that didn't work because they didn't have any understanding or any reason to be together. And this was the same thing that I found in When No One Is Watching, and what I see in a lot of other works, where the characters hate each other and have little to no interest in being around each other. They're not manipulating each other. It's just, there is no reason to be there. And it's all just for the sake of the plot, for the sake of drama, and it's just so bad. Getting into the rest of the characters, the ones who are good are just good. The ones who are bad can't help but pathologically sneer when they speak, because obviously bad people always out themselves by being straight up dicks all the time and always sneering and immediately looking unfriendly when they do something or say something or have something diabolical in their mind. The pawn shop owner gives the girls extra money for the ring because why not? She's a good guy, and she'll help them on their mission to get an abortion. The limo driver who meets Veronica only 2 or 3 hours earlier gives her basically the entire day for free because he doesn't need to make money, apparently living in an abandoned city in the middle of nowhere. Then you've got these obvious truckers, in the middle of the United States South in a diner in the middle of nowhere, sneering and making comments at Bailey and Veronica when they're there, hitting on them, and then when they get rejected, steal their car because, of course, bad guys are just all the way bad all the time. And I bet you, if there was a black person in this place, they would have made some kind of racist comment too, because YOLO. Am I right? There's no such thing as nuance. I will give credit, though, to the one time Bailey threatens to electrocute a ferret with a taser, threatening a poor animal to get back at a dude bro weed man. The one final thing that I will say on Veronica's character, and I know that this segment is kind of all over the place, but Veronica and Bailey both express violent tendencies throughout the book. Veronica's impulsive and attacks at least 2 people, maybe 3, one with a taser because she doesn't like what she heard him say. This was Bailey's father that she attacked, and he didn't even say an insult. The other is after her boyfriend agrees with her that she was right all along, he was wrong, and he wanted to support her. She then punches him for no reason. He doesn't do anything. He just agrees with her, and she punches him because she's angry. She's violent and she's controlling. She's narcissistic, and she says multiple times how she feels no remorse over what she's doing. She's a psychopath. And we have another crazy person here who never acknowledges that she's got some damages going on, and then we're told that she is the good guy. Look, I don't have problems with damaged main characters. My debut novel is made up almost entirely of broken people and bad people. But I'm not trying to make any of them look like heroes or morally justified or good guys. You get what you get with a bunch of broken people. Jenni explicitly says that Veronica and Bailey are the heroes, the good guys, and they are standing in solidarity with women while being psychopaths. At this point, with so many books made with psychos as the main characters and bad guys as the main characters, I have to wonder if these people writing these books really do not see the mental disturb in what they're doing and actually think that these people are good and normal. Getting on to the plot, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here because it's kind of throughout the rest of the book, or it's kind of throughout the rest of what I've been saying. I've already talked about the ridiculousness of this whole thing, but I did want to mention that there was a quick problem with the plot in the limo. They find the random limo store in the middle of almost abandoned town and knock on the door, and then immediately it skips to them having acquired the limo for their journey and doesn't show how or why or whatever happened. The author just completely dodges that plot hole by dropping them right into the limo and driving in the next chapter. No questions, though. No questions asked. On the political messaging of this book, first, there is a difference between thinking that abortion should be legal and thinking that all states should allow a child to get an abortion without the parents knowing. That's what the film and the movie are both advocating, yet never really does the author say why a kid should be allowed to get an abortion without their parents knowing, and I'm not aware of any other medical procedure that a minor can have without their parents knowing. I don't even think school nurses can give children Dimetap or Tylenol during a school day without parents knowing. If you're gonna make this argument that this should be something, then you gotta make the why, not just it should be because. There's also a moment when Veronica says that the whole school is going to go against her for getting an abortion once they know, and that's one of the reasons why she's so afraid of it getting out, to mess up her reputation. But the whole novel is spent saying that this is so normal and this is so casual and this is so accepted. Why would the whole school go against her? The book tries to bring up the serious issue of abortion and the different positions on it, but it just kind of strawmans with everyone being against it as bad for no reason and Veronica being right for the same reason. Veronica is a violent, car-thieving narcissist who shows no remorse about anything, but then there's just this little bit of irony in the whole thing about getting an abortion because someone doesn't want to be a parent. Veronica feels ecstatic after getting an abortion, but this is after they spoke to Bailey's dad, who said he didn't really want to be a parent and kind of almost implied that Bailey should have been aborted. How can you get mad at somebody for piecing out of parenthood when you're doing the exact same thing? If Bailey's parents had gone the same way that Veronica was going, then Veronica wouldn't have Bailey to take her to get an abortion. But of course, none of this is actually responded to or looked at or acknowledged even in the book because you can't. It doesn't fit into the agenda. Now, on the comedy aspect, I am actually so let down that the authors went absurd but didn't go as fully absurd as they should have gone for the whole time, and I wish she just would have committed all the way to setting your expectations that this would just be unbelievable stuff in here, just to lighten the mood, okay? Because singing Abortion Ant is unbelievable on its own. Like, think of the protesters outside of the abortion clinic, think of them standing with pitchforks and torches, and a woman holding a fetus the size of a kidney bean in a blanket in her arms, and a papier-mâché woman who is tied to a burning stake, held in the air, her belly ripped open and red streamers like entrails coming out of her, with a sign that reads, "Your Papa Satan is waiting," and another one that reads, "Don't worry, we saved all the valuable things here already." And then a man underneath the sign wearing a skin-tight red suit, horns and tail, and a long twisty mustache, and a golden bling necklace that reads Satan. Just a second necklace hangs under it that reads bitches. Just go full over-the-top ridiculousness. Some of it was already in there, but Hendriks kind of towed the line in order to make this is the threatening moment, this is the fun over-the-top moment, to try to make you take her argument seriously, but it really just comes off as a straw man and a political story that pushes what she thinks is reality or tries to push, look, it's this scary, and I don't want to make my argument look ridiculous, but I'll make everybody else's argument look ridiculous. And it's very strange in a comedy in this moment to have her go into the abortion clinic and to have this procedure, and your readers are supposed to sympathize with her and to empathize with her, but Veronica's a psychopath, and here is an example.
She'd turn her car around and go on to raise the baby and live happily ever after, but instead, there was nothing. No remorse. No guilt. No moment of awakening, no tearful repentance. My eyes slid over the signs and my heart remained unaffected. I'd made my decision long before I arrived. These signs were just words.
So she's showing a lack of sympathy while also being surrounded by these people who oppose her opinion, being put up as strawman caricatures of what the author thinks a protest looks like, but that's not actually what an anti-abortion protest looks like. And, that's just it. The rest of the comedy is pretty much immature, stinky dick jokes and LMAO aren't I zany situations that are pretty much synonymous with sitcoms and low IQ. The story itself is very dark, and to dedicate the book to our children at the very beginning is very macabre. The characters are generally flat for the purpose of saying the specific political message, not telling a story. The rekindling of the relationship between Bailey and Veronica comes off as fake because the whole situation is fake and was hard to believe with what Veronica's personality was supposed to be. The two actually had good chemistry, but the story just wasn't strong enough to carry that. The movie was actually a lot nicer than the book and weakened a lot of the mean-spirited voices and characters and nature that the author had when dealing with certain characters or ideas. Honestly, I think that was the spookiest thing about Jenni. She really dislikes family and paints family, children, and two parents as a bad thing. Children unbehaved, screaming, her two parents with their expectations over her, whereas Bailey is free to do whatever she wants with her single mom and there is no screaming. They live in a nicer house, whereas the whole family with the 3 kids and the 2 parents lives in a trashy neighborhood with toys and abandoned holiday decorations laying all over the place. It's a bleak picture of the family, and I just want to ask Jenni Hendriks, who hurt you? But really, it's a false dichotomy that's saying if you have kids, then they're going to be little monsters and you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life, or you can have a career and not be miserable. The biggest differences from the book had to do with the friends group trying to investigate the pregnancy test, the stripper not existing and actually becoming a drag car racer, and then the group of truckers becoming a multi-culti bunch of teenagers who helped Veronica and Bailey avoid the police when they found the car. Oh, and also that Kevin was not stalking them everywhere. I think the point that was kind of missed in the last video about this was that generally, normal, healthy people can't and don't find the corruption or destruction of innocence as something that you make funny. I'm not saying that there aren't people who do find pleasure in that, because the Marquis de Sade kind of jerked off to that kind of thing and pretty much invented the term sadism and that whole area of stuff. But it's really well known that he wasn't praised for moral superiority. I get that this is what that movie was going for. Generally, in murder comedies, the people who get it kind of deserve it. They aren't innocent, but in abortion, it's always an innocent life. Now, if you distance yourself from the fact that that is a child, that's on you, but the book repeatedly recognizes and reassures the reader that a fetus is a child and the goal is to kill it. I'm not going to pretend I didn't read the book without my own biases, as I already have my own stances on it, just like those who defend the film and the book have their own biases and aren't coming in unbiased either. But I had been hoping that I would be surprised with some kind of deep conversation or reflection or deep characters. Instead, Jenni Hendriks and company just ranted about how their ideas are the right ones without giving any reason as to why. I want it now is because I say so is not an argument. If you watch the movie only, I'd call you lucky, because the girls you see in that movie are hardly representative of what you find in the book. If you have a different opinion or a different experience from the movie or the book, let me know in the comments down below. And I gave you a chance, so give me a chance to not assume I'm the devil because I disagree with you. If all you can say is abortion is important so we need this, or a vapid it's so funny though, or an insult, I don't know how I'm supposed to take your perspective seriously. Sorry. So we're gonna have to agree to express why we liked or disliked the content in uneducated, normal manner. But what do I know? I'm just a robot. I'm looking forward to seeing what you humans think in the comments down below, and that's all for today. If you enjoy this sort of content, please remember to like, share, subscribe for more. I will keep reading things, keep talking about things, and keep meeting you in the comments. Until next time, have a good day, have a good weekend, and don't die. Dear Madam Astra, that's me. We regret to inform you that on August 1st, your employer, Agatha Jane Benedict, owner of the Benedict estate, peacefully passed away in her sleep. Oh, that's so sad. Wait. Let me try that again. Oh my goodness, that's so sad. Yeah, I think I'm ready. With millions of dollars on the line and the opportunity for your every need to be taken care of for life, tell me, is there anything more valuable than that? I didn't think so. Dead End Drive is a dark comedy novel that makes 3 promises. 1, an illustrious estate in Louisiana. 2, an opulent dinner affair for all in attendance. And 3, and most importantly of all, lots and lots of competitive murder. So if you're looking for a cozy book to settle in with for the spooky season, I've only got one question for you. Will I see you at the whale reading?